Hello guys. I have decided to, to go live. What happened at the moment, I'm really, in a hurry. Gusto ko maayos na tong room guys. Tingnan nyo naman kahapon kasi guys, di ba nag-live tayo? O tingnan nyo guys. Di ba? Ngayon guys, samahan nyo ako, at least may kausap ako mamaya na ayusin ko to guys. Ayusin ko to ngayon tong room ko kasi ang gulo-gulo ngayon guys, hindi ko alam kung anong gagawin ko dito. Tapos sa Sunday, magla-live tayo sa Sunday. Pero ngayon guys, ayusin ko to ngayon tong office. Kasi ang gulo niya eh. Ang hirap talaga. Sa Pilipinas lang to guys, may taga-ayos ako. Ngayon, tingnan nyo guys, dami kong gagawin. Kaya, teka, ipang ko dito para at least makita ko kung sino yung naandyan. Okay. Tingnan ko to guys. Hello? Hello? Bakit parang hindi nag-ano yung phone ko, yung ano? Teka. Yan. Dito para tapos makita ko kung sino yung nandyan. Okay. Yun. Meron pala eh. Ngayon guys, ibali na guys, kahit na isi-share ko na lang ito mamaya. Ngayon guys, ayusin ko kasi ito guys, para sa Sunday, makita ko kung sino kung anong gagawin ko dito sa mga damit na kung saan yung ipaparapols ko ba guys. Kaya ayusin ko ngayon. Ayusin ko isa-isa. Saka yung mga bag. Ayusin ko isa siya para maayos ko ba guys. Ngayon kasi guys, gulo-gulo. Gulo dito. Ayusin ko siya. Balik ko sa dati. Balik ko siya sa dati guys. Balik sa dati. Ay, naku, kalat. Ayan guys, tingnan nyo. Kasi kahapon, sinanta ko lang to rito eh. Hindi ko naman siya naayos. Para tayo na may relief. Parang may relief dito Saka yung mga bag pala guys kahapon, hindi ko napakita pala sa inyo. Ito pala yung bag na hindi natin nabuksan ba? Ito yung bag na to. Yan Pag sa Pilipinas, ito guys, 7,000. Tamo, may price pa siya 7,999 pesos. Yung bag na yan. Kaya hindi ko siya ginagamit eh. Nandyan lang siya. Kasi gusto ko sanang guys ibenta ito. Kaya ko dinala dito. Mas maganda yung kasi yung mga bag dito sa Australia eh. Ito kasi galing to ng US. Ano ko lang, ilagay ko dito sa ilalim. Ilagay ito sa ilalim ng wardrobe ko. Ito yung sinasabi kong damit ng anak ko. Damit ng anak, ginamit ko pala ito nung kasal nung namanhikan ako sa anak ko. Ito guys, Hirap. Ang dali kayo pero ang hirap mag-rearrange uli. Grabe ang kalat ko. Gusto ko ito. Teka. Dapat ka may music tayo guys, ano? May music dapat para at least hindi ba boring? Kaya ano, di bali na. Tapos, ito ilagay ko to sa taas. Yung mga sapatos ko, ilagay ko dyan. Ganito ko na lang para makita. Ay, anong bag? Si Ella Herrero. Parang silent LS na lang to guys. Silent. Balik uli sa pinag-alisan natin kahapon. Balik uli. Tapos, sa Sunday guys, sabihin nyo sa akin kung anong gusto nyo damit. Padala ko sa inyo sa Pilipinas. So, pag malamig, suot ko to. Di pa naman siya malamig ngayon guys eh. Di pa masyado, pero malamig na siya, pero hindi masyado. Ay naku, ang buhay. lang guys. Hello. Wala pa kayo dyan? Oh, si Marilyn Villa. Hello. Hello, Marilyn. Hello. Ano lang, Marilyn, nagliligpit lang ako ngayon kasi gulo-gulo ng room ko. Eh, sayang din naman yung malay mo, may mga manunood. Okay. Andyan lang kayo ha. Message mo lang ako, Marilyn. Message mo ako. Hello, Ma'am Jess. Tamsakdan. Okay. Sige, tulugan mo ako nga. Hirapan ako. Gusto ko nga sana matulog. Hindi ako makatulog. Kasi ang gulo-gulo ng office ko. Tignan mo, oh. Iba kahapon, oh. Tignan mo, oh. Ang gulo-gulo. Kaya samahan mo ako. May mga bag pala tayo kahapon na hindi nabuksan. Ayan, oh. Ito yung mga bag. Ito yung mga bag na hindi ko pa siya nagagamit. Ano ito eh, binili ito ng kaibigan ko eh. Alam mo to, ano bang pangalan nitong bag na to? Ano siya? Ang tatak niya Kinet Cole. Leather siya. Tapos 3,000 to. 3,600 sa Pilipinas. Yan. Daming bag. Mga bago pa to guys, may mga tatak pa oh. Kinet Cole. Lagay ko lang dito. Uwi ko sa Pilipinas, dalali ko to, ipamigay ko na lang. Ano lang guys, i-ligpit ko muna. Ito, ganun din ata to eh. Kasi nakabalot pa siya eh, hindi ko alam. Dami-dami ko kasing bag. Iba naman ito. Ito yung 7,000. Ito yung 8,000 oh. 8,000 guys, ganyan lang siya oh. Mahal naman. Hindi na ako kasi guys masyado ngayon. Hindi na kasi ako pumapasok sa office. Kaya dito ka lang sa bahay, wala ka namang ginagawa. Hindi mo na kailangan mag-ayos eh. Mabuti nga mayroong meron akong YouTube. Kung hindi guys, hindi ako nag-aayos. Yan. Daming kalat. Pagkatapos nito guys, mag-i-edit pa ako ng mga video. Sinamahan ako ni Marilyn. Sige, diyan ka lang Marilyn. Diyan ka lang Marilyn. Kwentuhan mo na lang ako. Oo, dadalhin ko yung mga nyo. Pag-uwi ko sa Pilipinas, puntahan ko kayo isa-isa. Ay. Alam mo naman ito ng daming damit, hindi mo naman ginagagamit. Sayang. Dami-dami mga damit. Sabi ng asawa ko, what happened darling? Why you take all your clothes? Bakit ko daw kinuha yung mga damit ko doon na iba sa loob? Sabi ko, doon ako titira sa office. Sabi ko, dito na ako titira sa office. Anong ginagawa mo, Marilyn? Anong ginagawa mo ngayon? O dadalhin ko mga pinaglumaan ko, Marilyn, pag uwi ko sa Pilipinas. Okay? O sige. Ito, type ko to eh. Gusto ko to. Para akong bata dito pag sinuot ko to eh. Para hindi ako 63 years old. Ay. Daming kalat. Tsaka ngayon, di na tayo nagsisimba. Eh, hindi ko na nagagamit yung mga damit ko. Dito na lang tayo sa bahay magdasal. Dasal na lang tayo sa bahay. Ito, gusto ko to eh. Ay. Pagkatapos ko nito guys, mamaya magkwento ako. Meron akong ginawang isang libro guys, basahin ko, maganda siya. Ang ano siya, ang Kastilyong Buhangin. Basahin ko mamaya pagkatapos ko nito. Ligpit mo na ako kasi parang di ako mapakali guys kapag man nakikita akong kalat. Ano ako eh, very, para bang nasisipikate ako kapag yung ano, daming kalat, ako nakikita. So, maganda ito. Para siyang ratan. Sabi mo, parang ratan lang siya, oh. Pero alam mo, magkano to? Parang ratan lang siya. Pero ang benta sa Pilipinas, 4,000 pesos. Benta sa Pilipinas. O, ganyan lang itsura niya. Wala na? Wala na ko hanger? Daming bag. Ano ibang hanger? Naputol. Marilyn, saan ka nakatira? Ano ba to? Hindi ako mag-ayos ng zipper. Ayun lang guys, dali lang. Katapos ko nito guys, usap tayo ha. Dali lang to. Para hindi ako mapakali guys eh. Ang dungis. Dungis ng room ko. Dami kalat. So guys, ang mga sapatos ko. Lagay ko lang dito. Wala na rin space doon sa loob ng bahay. Puno na. So, maganda siya. Yan. Ay, tatay. Saan yung isa nun? Ay, ito. Ganda nito, oh. Gusto ko tong sapatos na to. Pilipinas ko to binili. Magaganda kaya ang sapatos dyan sa atin sa Pilipinas. Sabi ng pinaglumaan. Hello, Marilyn! Hindi, medyo malinis na siya. Ay, naku, ang dami kong bag. Saan ko pa ilagay ito? Ilagay ko na lang dito, guys, sa loob. So, guys, may mga wig pa ako, oh. Sabi ko kasi, kapag tulad yan, meron tayong mga gagawing mga vlog. May mga wig ako, guys, oh. Ang ganda ng wig siya, oh. Mahaba ito, guys, eh. Yan mo, ang ganda. Si Marilyn ang nandyan. Ito siya. Meron pa siyang knit. Oh, meron siyang knit. Ang ganda pala siya. Hindi ko pa kasi ito, guys, nabuksan, eh. Baka bago to, eh. Yan, oh. Ang ganda ng buhok. Guys, oh, ang ganda ng buhok. Tapos, isuot ko to. Paano ba ito suot? Guys, oh. Maganda siya. So, ito kaya, tingnan ko. Paano ba ito magsuot? Ganito ba ito? Ako marunong, guys, magsuot ng wig. Marunong ako magsuot sa iba, pero pag sa sarili ko, di ako marunong. Ang ganda siya, oh. Ayusin. Anong ko na lang, pag magkaroon tayo ng live na susuot ko to. Ay, isusuot ko pa siguro ito sa sa grand natin. Ang ganda siya, guys, oh. Iba-ibang kulay, oh. Kailan ito nakatali itong buhok, guys. sa likod. Ay, ang gagawin ko, ilagay ko kaya ito sa manika. Nakatali siya pala, nakasalapid. Tinan nyo guys. Tinan mo Marilyn, nakasalapid yung, nakasalapid yung buhok. Ganda. Pag sinuot ko siguro ito, hindi halata na peke siya. Iba-ibang kulay, Suklayin. Yan. Takot ako baka balagas. Yan. Ganda ng buhok. Diba? Isusuot ko to, ayusin ko yung buhok ko, isuot ko pala to. Sa sunod na live natin, mag-iba-iba ako ng ayos, guys. Kaya gusto ko ito rito, guys, Kapag nandito na to, pag nag-live ako, iba-iba ang iba-iba ang buhok ko. Ito, maganda pala ito, Lagay ko muna yan dyan. Maganda yung buhok na yan. Tapos, mayroon pang isa. Sana yung isa? Ay, iba-iba. Dami pala dito. Ito pa pala, Ito, guys, naman to, guys? Blonde. Blonde din naman ito, Marilyn, Tingnan mo siya. Ay! Mayroon pa siyang Ganito maging itsura niya, Ganyan siya. Ay, ito siya. Tapos, mayroon pa siyang tali. Mayroon siyang hairnet. Mayroon pala siyang hairnet. Binili ko to guys, minsan kasi kapag lumabas ako ba, pag may nakita ko, sabi ko, maganda yun isuot ko kaya. Suot ko sa ay, try ko kaya. Maganda siya, Dali Dito lang ako, aray ko. Saan ba dito ang harap? Ayan. Ngayon, siguro pag ka siguro, siguro sa likod. Meron atang net. Sa sunod nito guys, mag-alagay ako nito. May net siya tignan mo, Sino na yan? Si Marily. Marilyn, buhok ko, Gusto ko yung mahaba. Bukan ko kaya to. Subukan ko to guys. Subukan ko to. Ito, yan Marilyn, gusto ko rin yan. Kaya lang, mas gusto ko ata ito. Paano ba yan ilagay? Ito, tingnan mo. Hali guys Ano ba yan? Ay, ang ganda siya! O, tingnan mo! Tapos mag-ano ako ng damit na purple. Ayan, o. Parang buhok ni Crystal, parang buhok ng anak ko. Kita niya to. Sabi ko, ayan, o, buhok ko, pinakulayan ko na. O, diba? Ay, maganda siya. Ayusin ko pala, magdasuot pala ako nito. Oh, tingnan mo, oh. Ay, ang ganda. Anin ko pala to, guys. Ayusin ko. Ayusin ko pala yan, guys. Tapos isuot ko pala sa ano. Sa mga isang live natin, mag-ayos ako. Oh, ganda pala siya eh. Tapos mayroon siyang ano, oh, ponytail. Tika, magsalamin ako. Ganda siya. Ito na lang isuot ko, guys, hanggang mamaya. Di ba maganda? Ito muna. Ligpit muna ako. Tapusin ko na itong ginagawa ko, guys. Si Marilyn pa rin nandyan. Marilyn, wala akong magawa. Hello. Lagay ko na lang dito pala sa loob. Dito na to. Wala, ang dami pang wig dito. Oh. Mga pinamili ko kasi itong mga wig noon, guys. Ayan, may wig pa dito. Oh. Lagay ko na ito dito. Ito pala eh. Ito pala mga hanger. Oh. Dami pang hanger. Mamaya, mag-live ako mamaya uli, guys. Mag-ayos ako. Sino ba nandyan? Nawala na si Marilyn. Oh, Marilyn, hindi mo nakita yung buko. Ang ganda, oh. Lapit na matapos. Hintay ko na po sa labas, guys. Ako, ang dami palang bag. Yan, guys, oh. Meron pang, yan. Pero mas gusto ko ata to. Lagyan mo na natin dito. Ito yung mga jewelry. Wala na akong hanger. Hanger ko sana ito yung bag eh. Aray ko. Hindi ko na lang ito dito sa baba. Ang shoes. Daming bag, guys. Gusto ko yan. Ito mga maliliit na bag ko. Ay, nako, ang daming bag. Ko. Ay. Ay. Pag malamig guys, saka ko nagsusuot ako ng boots. Ano? Hindi malinis na. Kanina nahihilo ako tumingin. Ay, naku, nakapagligpit din ako. Tapos na ako. O ngayon, iligpit ko muna itong iba guys, ha? Dali. Kunti na lang guys, kunti. Yan, malinis na. Kunti na lang kalat. Ano lang dyan? Aray ko. Alisin ko na to guys para naman ako nitong luka-luka. Alisin ko to. Wala na ako luka-luka niya. Tapos din, to, ligpitin ko muna to guys. Pero ayusin ko to, gusto ko to siya eh. Maganda siya oh. Ayusin ko to sa sunod na araw, suot ko to. Wala akong time mag-ayos ngayon, kaya pagpaliban natin. Saan yung ano nito? Ngayon guys, kung ayaw ko makita yung wardrobe, kaya yung aking green screen. Ito na lang isuot ko. Guys. Yan guys, so hindi nyo na makita yung kalat kung sa loob, di ba? Okay. Si Marilyn na yun nandyan. One is watching. That's okay. Kasi gusto ko lang naman mag-live ngayon para at least mayroon akong download. Okay. Sandali lang guys. Mahirap talaga ngayon guys sa Pilipinas guys kasi halos na lang nakikita mo sa pahingi ng pera, pahiram ng pera, pahingi ng ganyan, ganito, ganon. Kaya ang hirap din minsan anuhin eh. Para napakulungkot guys, napalungkot minsan magbasa ka ng mga message, magbasa ka ng mga message sa Facebook para bang napakahirap unawain, intindihin kung bakit nagkaganon ang buhay ng tao sa mundo. Napakalungkot na hindi mo alam kung ano ang mga nangyayari sa ngayon. Magbabasa ako guys ng ano ha, magbabasa ako ng ano ngayon. Meron akong babasahin sa inyo na ginawa kong libro sa Tagalog. Magbabasa ako guys ng ano ha, magbabasa ako ng ano ngayon. Sa Tagalog na ano na libro. Para naman is worth naman tong pagla-live ko ngayon guys, okay? Mag-ano lang ako guys, magpe-prepared lang ako uli, ha? Kasi, ayan, si Sophia Vega, nawala na si Marilyn Delia, hindi bali na. I-share ko na lang uli ito mamaya. Sakit ang likod ko. Ayun natin guys. Ay, may naayos lang ako guys ha. Sandali lang. Dali lang guys ha. Wala ko mayroon akong po ang pastilyong buhangin. Bakit palang wala? That's a lake. Dali lang guys, meron akong hinahanap. Herbal instinct mo man. Ano naman ito sa herbal instinct? Okay. Okay. Secret adventure. Hindi ko makita guys, yung nahanap ko guys. Sino? Ay, Banji! Hello, Banji Puras. May nahanap lang ako, Banji. Sandali. Magbabasa kasi ako ng, libro. Kailangan hinahanap ko yung file ko kung saan ko nilagay. Siguro sa computer ko na lang siya basahin. Sandali ha. Hello, Banji. Mega shoutout, Banji. Thank you, Banji. Hindi pa nga ako nakapag-share kasi nagligpit pa ako. Nagligpit ako kanina. Mag-ano lang ako, guys. Punta lang ako sa documents. Sandali ha. Meron akong babasahin Sandali, guys. Pag hindi ko makita, mamaya yun. Mag-ano na lang ako. Hello, Banji. Miga, shoutout, Banji. Listen ko ng ato. Kasi kanina suot-suot ko yan. Kung makita, mamaya yun. Mag-ano na lang ako. Magbasa na lang ako ng English. Miga, shoutout, Banji. Listen ko ng ato. Kasi kanina suot-suot ko yan. Kung makita, mamaya yun. Mag-ano na lang ako. Sandali ha. Dali lang guys. Hello, Jeneline. Miga shout out. Ipagpatuloy ko guys yung pagbabasa ko ng books ko. Kanina kasi nagkatuwaan kami ni Marilyn. Naglagay ako ng wig kasi nagligpit pa ako dito guys sa office. Kasi kahapon, 'di ba, nag-live tayo kahapon. Hindi ako nakapagligpit ng mga damit. Kaya lang nilagay ko na yung green screen para hindi niyo makita yung ibang kalat doon sa likod. Okay? Ngayon kasi guys, magbabasa lang ako ng itutuloy ko yung pagbabasa ko ng libro ko. Para wala nang katapos-tapusan yung libro na ginagawa ko hindi na matapos-tapos natin. Kahit na ilang pages lang, kailangan makabasa ako ngayon. Kailangan may ayos ko na ito guys, may ayos ko yung ko para pag natapos na yung pagbabasa ko guys ng libro, mag-iba na naman ako ng gagawin para para yung iba okay, Jeneline Alperez, I'll miss you too guys. Sa Sunday guys, mayroon tayong raffle sa Sunday, okay? Ngayon, siguro kung napanood nyo yung mga iba kong bahagi ng libro, nung nasa Hong Kong na ako guys, nakalipat na ako dun sa employer ko. Tapos, ito guys ang hindi siya malungkot. Hindi siya ito ang bahagi ng buhay ko na minsan, parang iniisip mo, parang ayoko na rin siya maalala. But, because of my children, kailangan tanggapin ko yung mga nangyari sa buhay ko na mga pagsubok. Okay? Dito kasi guys, lumipat na kasi ako doon, ay basahin ko sa English but again na-translate it again in Tagalog kasi nahirapan ako magbasa ng Tagalog guys doon sa kasi yung translation niya, YouTube translation. At least ito naintindihan ko ito kasi ako nagsulat. Okay? Ito kasi guys, ano ba ito? Nasa employer na ako but kailangan kong bumalik sa office, okay? I whispered to her ears from my dream last night. Ito kasi guys, ito na lang. Eventually, this became a routine and the girls began coming every Sunday right after church. They bring food and drinks. We'd hang out during the day. Everyone would tell me a little more of their lives and their families. When it was my turn, I avoided talking about my past. I acted as if I was happy and that my work was my life. The truth was that I was quite depressed and hiding my pain. I missed my family and my daughter. Months passed and Mr. Cervantes asked me and the other girls to organize a welcome party for the new officers in charge from Manila who was coming to visit the office in Hong Kong. I was very excited at the thought of the party since the bulk of work would fall on my shoulder. Kasi ako guys, nag-organize ako ng mga nurses sa Hong Kong. Kaya nung may party na yon, para bang siyempre ako bang inaanuhan ng office na mag-organize ng party, kaya tinulungan ko si Mr. Cervantes. Month passed, but one of the Cervantes asked me, the other girls, to organize the party. I was very excited at the thought of the party since the bulk I know is going to be my shoulder. Alam ko naman ako lahat magpapakahirap. I later returned to the King's house, yung employer ko ba guys, and prepared dinner for them. And that evening, after I put grandma to bed, I lay on my bed and look about the room thinking about the party that I would have to organize and everything that needed to be done. I tried to stay positive and my eyes became heavy. I had a smile on my face and began to fall asleep, slumber. Suddenly, a little voice abrupt me. Sophia, are you still awake? I turned to see Grandma sitting at the side of the bed. Will you please take me to the bathroom? I'm sorry because I know you have a big day tomorrow, but I really have to go. I sat up and gave her a big smile. It's no problem, Grandma. I am always happy to help. Afterwards, I fall asleep. I fall a deep sleep. I woke up at 3 a.m., tiptoed to my own room, going directly to the bathroom, Looking myself at the mirror, boy, I did need a shower. First set out my clothes, and I was going to wear a floral pattern dress. Tapos pagkatapos kasi nung sa employer ako guys, ako ka talaga nag-alaga nung matanda na diabetic patient. Ako nag-aalaga sa Hong Kong. Kaya minsan kapag katapos ng ano ko, diretso na ako doon kasi nagpa-part-time pa ako guys doon sa Hong Kong dati, doon sa office nung employer nung nag-sponsor sa akin. Ito, nag-ayos na ako. And then I'm looking forward to seeing the girls at the party. They had stayed at Mr. Cervantes' apartment that night. Before we were busy preparing for food, I arrived at 6 a.m. We have just finished getting everything in place and ready to go when the guests start arriving at 9 o'clock in the morning. Everyone at the party was attractively dressed, not unlike myself. I have done all the flower arrangement and everyone marveled that I have come up with. What are you smiling about, Sophia? Linda asked. With a big grin, I responded, I just love red and yellow roses. Oh yes, they look pretty. Where did you learn how to arrange flowers? I whispered to her ears from my dreams last night. She laughed at me playfully, and we joined the rest of the girls. Mr. Cervantes was drinking whiskey, Johnny Walker, Black Label. I wasn't used to drink and split beer with Nadia. We found some small glasses and poured the beverage after we finished our drink. Mr. Cervantes gave us each other first glass and poured some of his Johnny Walker into each of our glass. We opened a new bottle of beer and top up our empty beer glasses. We have us drink and beer right after we clogged the glass of whiskey to mark a strong taste of liquor. Grabe. Grabe guys, kung sa Hong Kong kasi guys, hindi naman ako guys umainom. Kaya lang, syempre, alam mo, pag may party na ganyan, you're eventually learning how to mag-ano ba sa mga girls. Kaya I learned to drink. An hour later, I decided it was time to get something to eat. As I felt little bit tipsy. Nahilo na ako guys. And I wanted to get rid of myself of feeling. I checked myself out into the bathroom first and thought I generally look okay. My face felt numb and appeared a little flushed. Namumula na ako kasi ganun ako pag umiinom ako guys, namumula ako eh. I returned to the party and Mr. Cervantes stood up. As soon as he saw me coming over to me, he asked that I could accompany him downstairs to buy more alcohol. I agreed as I grabbed into Linda and three of us traveled nearly liquor shop. Kasi pag ganyan sa may party, kailangan naka-prepared ka rin, di ba? When I was alone with Linda, I asked her to stay longer in order to help me clean up. I didn't want to be alone with Mr. Cervantes, but I didn't feel it necessary to tell her that. She agreed to stay until her employers picked her up. Mr. Cervantes returned in another bottle of Johnny Walker and several bottles of red wine. He paid for them, and we went back to the building. Once we were back in the elevator, it moved up. Everything began to spin. As soon as the door opened, I dropped directly into the floor. I could barely hear voices as they asked, "Is Sophia okay?" "She passed out. Please give us a hand to get her into the bed." Naano ako guys, nahilo ako guys, tapos natumba ako doon sa elevator. Tapos yun, ginawa nila, dinala nila ako doon sa room, tapos pinahiga nila ako sa kama. I feel like I had weight on my limb. Piece by piece of my clothes were removed until I was naked, and Phil found my voice. "Linda, please, Linda, don't leave me alone. I'm supposed to return to King's house tonight." I tried to move, but inside my head, it was spinning. I felt Linda squish my hands and she said apologetically, I had to go, Sophia. My employer is here. I could hardly understand what she's talking about. Then I heard another voice. It's okay, Linda. I have called the king and explained that Sophia had to do extra work to do here and we and will be there in the morning. I heard her sound relieved and then the door closed. I screamed inside my head. There were no other sound and it was quiet. I fell asleep. I dreamed that I was crawling and crawling my way up the mountain with clay. I was exhausted and my hands and knees were covered with red mud. I was so tired and couldn't continue. And then I could feel myself slowly slide back down into the mountain. I turned my head to see behind me and there was an awful creature waiting for me at the bottom. It was made of eyeballs and big pink tongue. Its an arm reached out for me, and arm grabbed my feet slowly, dragged me into the bell mouth. I passed out and dreamed as well, and I heard someone whispering my ears, Sophia. Kasi guys, kapag ganyan kasi guys na medyo nalalasing ka, hello, ala, Jenaline. Pag ganyan kasi guys na nahilo ka, medyo, pag nakatulog ka na, you dream about many things na, ng mga pangyayari sa buhay mo ba, ng mga nakaraan mo. Kaya ako naman, nung mga oras na yon, nananaginip ako guys na I'm climbing the mountain. I'm climbing the mountain, tapos masyado siyang steep. Kaya lang, because it's very slippery, tapos nakikita ako, mayroon palang big ano doon, yung parang mayroong big snake ba na gusto ako iswallow, parang ganun. Tapos yung pala guys, habang nananaginip ako, yung pala mayroon palang parang nararamdaman ko mayroong tao sa harap ko. Paano ba 'yan? Bakit teka guys. Teka ha, dali lang guys. Dismiss ko kaya 'to muna. Dali lang guys Dismiss ko lang 'to. Hindi ko kasi guys makikita yung ayun. Yun pala yun. Heart pala yun, heart. Okay. Thank you. My sleepy eyes slowly opened to see Mr. Cervantes bending over me. My blanket was pulled back and he was admiring my right breast. He had a hand on my belly and was kissing my neck. It was no longer a dream. I spoke trying to find my voice. Please, Mr. Cervantes, let me be. I don't want this to happen. I was fall asleep and still drunk. My eyes would not fully open and I was wondering if I had been drugged. I couldn't fight back. I heard his voices. It was soft, but it was excited and nervous. He said, "Let me make love to you, Sophia." I tried to roll over and I felt the blanket being pulled off my body. The cool air enveloped me. Wanted to cover my body from him, but I didn't know if my hand moved there. If I just wish, I tried to roll to my side, but again, I don't think it happened. I believe I was on my back arm of my side. My legs were being open wide. As he lay on top of me, I couldn't feel his nakedness and his readiness. How long had been fantasizing as I laid there passed out. Nakatulog kasi ako guys, hindi ko alam na tinitignan na pala ako nitong boss ko pala habang ako'y nakahiga. He kissed my face and I could smell his full breath. His mouth on my mouth, his tongue inside, and then he moved to my ears lobe, to my neckline, and finally to my breast. He beat my and lick it and down to the breast. Guys, is very ano ito guys, masyado itong kung sa libro niyo ito guys basahin mas maganda. Kaya lang minsan pag binabasa ko guys sa akin, pag binabasa ko uli parang bumabalik uli yung mga nakaraan sa akin. Kaya minsan natitigilan akong basahin kasi I have to imagine na ano, ganun ba yun? He kissed my face. I could not smell his full breath. His mouth on my mouth, his tongue inside. Then he moved to my earlobe and to my neckline and finally to my breast. He bit my nipple, lick it up. He licked and looked on my belly and then felt some finger inside me. The inside of my body burned from the cigarette residue from his skin. Why were things so crystal clear to me as they happened, but I was unable to stop it? All I could do was retreat back into my mind and distance myself from reality of what happened. He was killing my soul with every second of his abuse. How could I defeat this vile beast? My chest tightened and I swallowed hard and spoke, "Please don't, I beg you." His reply was to shove my finger deeper inside me, and it burns so badly. He slowly removed them and then opened my eyes to see him licking each other tenderly. He smiled and did push himself in me. His face rested next to mine as he pulled. You know, guys, this is a bit, scary, guys. But ang iba, guys, hindi ko babasahin na. Alam nyo na siguro. I had a feeling it was going to be over quickly. I have the right. 90 seconds after he violated me, I felt nothing but pain. I discovered quickly years ago that there was little pleasure in sex for me. It was heavy on my chest, and the weight of his body crushed me. I felt his muscle spasm in me, and then he stopped. He let his full weight collapse on me and tried to breathe for some air. It lasted as long as he is, abusing me. And then he got up from me. I opened my eyes to see him backing away from me and on the bed. His member. I asked you not to do it for me. I was still lying on the bed. He had an evil look on his face as he spat out. It doesn't matter now. It was done, Sophia. I was angry, but I knew there was no more points of arguing with him. I discovered I could move again, and I pulled the blanket up over myself. I wanted to have a million hot shower to cleanse his mess from me. I stared back at him, and my expression must have stirred something inside of him, that he appeared guilty. He said, "I'm sorry, Sophia. You are a beautiful woman, and we're alone, and I'm drunk." Kaya guys, alam mo minsan guys, naisip ko ngayon kasi I'm already matured. Ano na ako eh. Siyempre may mga karanasan na ako. I'm married. Parang naisip ko guys noon, ng mga panahon na yun guys, siyempre pag bata pa tayo, wala pa tayong mga karanasan sa buhay. Parang naisip natin kapag yung may nagkakagusto sa atin, tapos di ba minsan pinipili tayo. Sa ngayong panahon guys, dito sa Australia, kapag sinabing no, it means no. Noong mga panahon kasi na yun guys, kasi para bang natatakot tayo na lalo na siyempre, alam mo sa buhay ngayon is very hard na noong mga panahon na yun guys, ako guys talagang gusto ko talagang makaahon sa hirap sa buhay, kaya nagpunta ako sa Hong Kong na akala ko nakaiwas din ako doon sa iniiwasan ko sa Pilipinas na mga nakaraan ko. Kaya lang, pag sinusundan ka pala talaga ng bad karma, kahit saan ka pumunta, kasi yun nakaguhit sa sarili mo palad, nakaguhit pala yun ang iyong mga, kung anong mangyayari sa buhay mo, nakaguhit na pala yun. Kaya hindi mo talaga siya maiwasan. I was angry, but I know there was no point arguing with him. I discovered I could not move again, and I pulled blanket into my chest. He said, "I'm sorry, Sophia. You are a beautiful woman, but we were alone and I'm drunk." Yun ang masasabi niya sa akin. Dahil maganda daw ako at nalasing daw siya at dalawa lang daw kami sa bahay kaya hindi niya napigilan ang sarili niya. That's the excuse. He left the room and went out into the apartment. I slowly made my way from the bed and to his bathroom. My head was still spinning as I picked out a large white bath towel. I wrapped it around myself and navigate my way out to the living room. Light from the opposite apartment building streamed through the barred window in the living room. I walked over to the window, opened the lower part of it by sliding a panel to the left. Fresh air rushed, and to me, I wish I could squeeze between the bar and jump to my death. Maybe that was why the bar were there. Perhaps I wasn't the first one to have this done to them here. I gripped the black bar tightly and looked out at the street below and squeezed fluttered my I'm already mattered hair around. Kasi noong mga panahon guys, pagkatapos niya noon guys, kasi nasa 15th floor ata kami o sa 23rd floor. Nung nangyari yun guys sa akin, gusto ko sanang tumalon sa building eh. Gusto ko magpakamatay. Kaya lang syempre, yung ano na yun, yung pinto na yun guys, mabuti na lang siya, meron siyang mga rehas ba guys, kaya hindi ko nagawa yung attempt na gusto kong gawin ng mga panahon na yun, ng mga oras na yun. Kaya everything looked so perfect outside, while in here everything was wrong. Sometimes something caught my eye and I could see white tears and pretty rose in the vase on the table. I walked over and picked out a red and yellow one. Tears filled from my eyes as I returned to the open window and flung the rose out. I watched as it fall into the night and disappear below, just as I wanted to do. Nakita ko guys, kasi doon sa room na yun, nakita ko na may bulaklak doon. Ang ginawa ko guys, pinick up ko yung bulaklak. Tapos ang ginawa ko, binuksan ko yung bintana, itinapon ko yung bulaklak. Para bang iniisip ko, if I can't jump out there, I just throw roses into that window. I cleared my throat and realized I was quite thirsty. I went into the kitchen praying I would not see that bastard. I could only hope he did the right thing and killed himself. I drank 2 full glasses of water and then made my way to my clothes. I picked out one outfit and went to the shower. Locking the door behind me, I feel sick of my stomach, so I stuck my finger down my throat. My stomach convulsed. A yellow foam bile exploded over the shower floor. Slowly finding its way to the drain, I turned on the water and made sure it was very hot. Hot enough to burn away the very bad memories. The water ran over my body and I scrubbed myself repeatedly, trying to wash away the pain. More tears sprang from my eyes, and as I remember how Roscoe raped me that first time. Why did I allow this to happen again? I turned the shower off and stood there. The water dripped from my body. I grabbed the big white towel and dried myself. My vagina burned. I got dressed in a conservative outfit and left the apartment. I walked into the elevator and wished that it would suddenly drop and killed me. I exit the building and walked to the train station 3 blocks away. Alam mo ng mga oras na yun guys, minsan kasi guys kapag yung, kaya tayo we have to be strong. Ito lang mga sinasabi ko, minsan we have to be strong. Kasi ang faith kasi natin minsan guys, there is mga pagsubok sa buhay natin. Ngayon ko lang guys na ngayon ko lang naintindihan yan. Yung mga nangyari pala sa akin guys, mga pagsubok lang sa buhay ko yun na talagang ang ginawa ko guys, tiniis ko at buti na lang guys, nalagpasan ko lahat yung mga pagsubok na yun ng Panginoon sa akin. Kaya nagpasalamat din ako sa Panginoon na walang nangyari sa akin ng mga panahon na yun. Tapos, ang ginawa ko dito guys, naalala ko nung sa shower ako, kasi guys, alam nyo guys, paano ko sa inyo, 2 beses ako guys na, ang nangyari ito sa buhay ko guys, 2 beses akong pinagsamantalahan ng 2 lalaki. Kaya, na nagbunga ng anak din kasi ang nangyari kasi guys, parang sabihin mo lang you're sleeping with the enemy. Kasi may mga dahilan ako noon kung bakit pinakisamahan ko yung mga ito kasi para nung una kasi guys, yung una na nagsamantala sa akin, pinangakuan ako na paaralin ako patapusin ako ng nursing. Kaya ang ginawa ko, pagkatapos nung pagsamantala na yon, pinakasamahan ko yon dahil nag-aaral ako ng nursing. Tapos para naman ako makaiwas sa kanya kasi gusto ko nang makahiwalay, ang ginawa ko guys, nagpunta ako sa Hong Kong para makaiwas doon sa tao na yon. Tapos pagdating ko sa Hong Kong, ito na naman nangyari sa akin. Kaya minsan pag sinusundan ka talaga guys ng meses lang kayo guys. Pag sinusundan kayo talaga guys ng karma, ng sa umpisa iniisip mo it's really parang hindi mo makayanan. Kaya lang to the extent. Sa ngayon, pag naisip ko yun guys, anong nangyari sa akin ngayon, noon, mga pagsubok lang pala yun. Kaya nung sinusulat ko ito yung libro na ito guys, parang nawala yung sakit sa dibdib ko nung ginawa ko tong libro na to. Kasi para ma-release ko yung mga pangyayari sa buhay ko, ginawa ko siyang sinulat ko siya. Tapos, nung naalis ako sa apartment, naglakad ako on the rain. on the train, I simply stared the window kasi nung bumaba ako doon sa building na yun, doon kasi sa Hong Kong guys, mayroong train doon, papunta doon sa employer ko. Kaya sumakay ako ng train. Kaya lang sa ganyan kasi may nangyari sa buong nangyari sa iyo, para bang natutulala ka, parang di mo alam kung anong gagawin mo. Kaya on the train, I stared out the window and wondered what was next to happen. I knew it was my fault and I hated myself. I wonder why I let this happen again. Parang bang sinisisi ko ng sarili ko, it was my fault. Parang kasalanan ko kung bakit nangyari doon. Dahil uminom ako, dahil nalasing ako, dahil na ano ako. Pero guys, minsan iniisip natin kasalanan natin. Pero ngayon guys, sa iniisip, pag sinabi kasi ng babae na no, it is no. Kung ayaw mo. Kaya lang, syempre, kapag nangyari na, wala naman tayong magagawa. Tapos na, o di ba? Back at the king's house, back to my employer's house, I apologized for shrinking on my duties with them, but they understood as Mr. Cervantes had called and explained I had an extra project to work on. God, only if they knew. I stayed busy with the king and did some extra work just to forget for even a few seconds what had happened to me. I didn't go anywhere near Mr. Cervantes' apartment again. Apparently, the girls were missing me and asking him where I was after 2 solid weeks. He called me at the king's house. Tapos natawagan ako, namimiss ako ng mga girls kasi hindi ako bumalik doon sa apartment niya. Tapos namimiss ako ng mga girls, ang tatanong sila kung bakit hindi ako bumalik doon sa apartment. Ang sinabi lang, I'm very busy at ganito, ganyan. Yun ang mga excuse na lang niya sinasabi sa mga girls. Sophia, he called me. Sophia, I'm sorry, please come back to work. I'd been telling the girls that you are sick. I promise it will never happen again. I cried and then hung up. Mr. King noticed that I no longer went to the office, and he asked me why. I explained that it was too hard to have 2 jobs, an offer to look after grandma full time. If I was able to live in their house, that way Mr. King's sister would have to look after her for my off duty. After considering it for a day, Mr. King called come home early that next afternoon and told me they are accepted my offer and duly increased my pay. I found him to be very nice. I didn't even have to ask for the extra money. Kasi guys, sa Hong Kong ako guys, dalawa kasi guys ang trabaho ko. Nagtatrabaho ako sa employer ko, at the same time, also nagpa-part-time ako sa office. Kaya lang yung nangyari sa akin na yon with Mr. Cervantes, yung isa kong boss sa office, hindi na ako bumalik sa office niya. Kaya lang ang ginawa ko ngayon, nag-offer ako sa employer ko na kung pwede ako makapagtrabaho ng full-time sa kanila. Kaya ang ginawa ko naman, sabi niya, o sige, bigyan, increase lang natin ang income mo, magtrabaho ko lang ng full-time dito sa amin. On my day off, I still went to the church and completely avoided the office. At the church, some of the girls from the office said that Mr. Cervantes had told them I had a bronchial infection and would be off for quite some time. It wasn't very nice for him to worry them like that. I set them straight. Apparently, the Manila office was wondering why my work was not being completed. Mr. Cervantes wasn't even trying to cover for me. He was hanging me out to dry and my job was in the jeopardy. Siyempre, hindi na ako nakakabalik sa opisina. Mga trabaho ko nakahang up na, hindi na ako nakapag-process ng mga papers, hindi ko na nadala yung mga ibang papeles sa immigration. Kasi ako guys, nagpa-process ng mga papeles ng mga nurses na nag-a-apply ng domestic helper sa Hong Kong. Ako nagdadala sa immigration, ako nag-ano sa mga employer. Kaya, ang Manila office nagwa-wonder ngayon bakit hindi ko natatapos ang trabaho ko. Tapos, hindi naman binibigyan ni Mr. Cervantes ng tamang excuse kung bakit hindi ako nakakapasok. In the church, I pray for guidance as to what I should do. I knew that I have to return to the office and catch up on all the work I had missed. However, I have decided to do only the agency work and nothing for Mr. Cervantes. I would only go to the office when he was at his other job and would leave before he returned at night. Ang ginagawa ko naman guys, kapag lumalabas naman ako, syempre para magawa ko yung trabaho ko kasi, yung office namin kasi, doon siya nakatira. Kapag pumapasok siya sa trabaho, tsaka ako pumupunta doon. Tapos ginagawa ko yung trabaho ko, kaya lang, pag wala na siya doon guys, pag wala na siya doon, umaalis na ako, pumupunta na ako sa isang employer ko. Pag dumarating na siya, nandun ako, pag wala siya, pero pag malapit na sa umaalis na rin ako. I put off telling the king about my decision because I didn't want to upset them after they had been so kind to me. I made up my mind to tell them the following day. That evening, I took grandma to the bathroom, later went to bed myself, allowing myself to doze off as I was sure she was asleep. Suddenly, I had a feeling that someone else was in the room with me. I quickly opened my eyes and in the darkness, I saw a figure next to my bed. I sat up wearing only my nightgown. Mr. King, is that you standing there? Before I got to answer, a rough hand covered my mouth and began kissing me. Alam mo guys, talagang, kung talaga ang ano mo talaga guys, kapag binamalas ka talaga guys, talagang ang daming dumarating sa buhay mo na talagang mga pagsubok ng Panginoon. Mga pagsubok kasi yan ng Panginoon, minsan sunod-sunod yan. Sunod-sunod yan na pagsubok na minsan ang iba hindi na talaga nakakayanan. Isipin mo, iniiwasan ko itong si Mr. Cervantes sa office. Tapos, pagdating ko naman doon sa employer ko, itong Chinese, kasi buntis kasi yung asawa niya, yung buntis niya is pregnant for I think 7 months or something. Tapos ang ginawa ko naman, nag-aalaga ako doon sa employer ko guys. Tapos hindi ko pala alam, pinagnanasaan din pala ako ng employer ko na in-check na lalaki. Kaya nung gabi na yon, siguro mga 3 o'clock in the morning siguro. Natutulog na yung matanda na ano ko, napapansin ko parang may tao nakatayo doon sa harap ng kama ko. Tapos nakikita ko, yung pala si Mr. King pala, ito guys ang mga tunay na pangalan. Si Mr. King pala, tamod pala doon sa akin, tinitignan ako natutulog. Tapos, nagtanong pa ako, ikaw ba yan, sir, Mr. King, that's you? Tapos, bago ako makapag-answer, guys, tinakpan na niya yung bunganga ko. Tapos, siyempre, natumayo ako, nag-ano ako doon sa may pinto. Tapos, binigla niya ako, guys, pinaghalikan ako sa neck, and the other hand went inside my nightgown and caught my breast, squishing it like ketchup package. Para bang pinag-ano ako nung boss nung ano ko, kaya ang ginawa ko, guys, my head was twisted around and I next felt the tongue inside my mouth. I had went from my breast, began descent down into my groin. I found the strength and backed away from the person behind me. I left off the bed and stood 3 feet away from Mr. King. Even in the darkness, I could see his evil grin and spoke. Sophia, let me make love to you here and now. You are driving me crazy. You are so beautiful. A terribly wave of fear swept through me as I realized that Mr. King evil lust was overcome him. He wanted to rape me. What the hell was wrong with men in this planet? I was in the complete shock, not believing that what had happened had really occurred to me. Neither of us had moved and he said, "Allow me to take you or I will toast you out on the street. Don't fight this, Sophia." Tapos sinabi niya sa akin na pagbigyan mo na ako, otherwise ito-throw doon niya ako sa street sa Hong Kong. Ano ba? Palabasin niya ako sa street sa Hong Kong. Why did Grandma wake up during this ordeal? Could she not hear this man's ugly voice? I shook my head and whispered to him, "No way, not ever over in my dead body." Sabi ko, guys, sabi ko ng mga oras na yon, hindi ko na pwedeng ito, sabi ko magpapakamatay muna ako bago mangyari sa akin uli itong pangatlong pagkakataon, sabi ko. Not over my dead body. He grilled, "You lost my little lady." He took several steps towards me and spoke with his horrible, fishy voice. "Tell Mrs. King about this and you'll never work in Hong Kong again. I can promise you that, Sophia." I stared at him in disbelief as he turned his back on me and left the bedroom. I simply stood there shaking, and only did I realize that I had urinated myself. My legs were trembled. I feel like they might give out on me. I went into the bathroom and soaked a washcloth in hot water and cleaned up my wet puddle on the floor. I have a scrambled, I could smell his mouth, skin on my face. Isipin mo, guys, nung ginawa sa akin yung guys, nanginginig ang mga tuhod ko, guys, nanginginig ang tuhod ko. Tapos napansin ko pala, guys, umihi na pala ako, guys, sa panty ko dahil sa takot ko sa nangyari nung gabi na yon. Dahil pala yung employer ko pala, matagal na pala ako pinagnanasaan na hindi ko napapansin. Kaya ang nangyari, guys, sabi ko sa kanya, kung gagawin niya yun, papatayin niya muna ako bago niya magawa yung gusto niyang gawin sa akin. Mabuti na lang, guys, siguro mayroon akong guardian angel na nagbabantay pa sa akin. Kaya ang ginawa ko nung binalik-dali kong linisin yung ano ko sa sahig kasi nag-umihi talaga ako, guys, sa sahig sa takot ko, guys, nanginginig ang tuhod ko. Ang ginawa ko, naghilamos na ako ng doon sa banyo, tapos nilinis ko na yung sahig. Tapos ang ginawa ko, guys, naglinis ako ng buong mukha ko, tsaka yung ko, tapos I jumped when I heard a voice from the darkness. "It was you, Sophia?" "Yes, it's me," I answered with squealing voice. "Please return to sleep. I'm just using the bathroom." Kasi yung matanda, nagising na yung matanda, gusto niyang pumunta ng bathroom. The old woman turned in my direction. Can I go too? Annoyed by her insistence. Nevertheless, guided her to the bathroom, let her do her business, and move over her back to the bed. Try to go to sleep, I said. I'm going to use the bathroom now. I closed the door and sat on the edge of the bathtub, turning the hot water faucet to come up with my crying from just happened with Mr. King. A knock by the door started me, and again I said, yes. Para bang tagal ko siguro pala doon guys sa banyo guys, hindi ko napansin, ang tagal ko marang nakaupo pala doon sa banyo. Hello Jeneline. Sophia, are you done yet? I really want to shower now. You've been in there too long. Are you okay? Yung matanda naman, ginawa niya, kasi ang tagal ko na pala doon, hindi ko napapansin gal. Nakaupo lang ako doon guys sa banyo at umiiyak ako. Hanggang sa napansin ko pala mayroong matanda, gusto na pala niyang pumasok doon sa bathroom. I'm all right. I won't be too much longer. My stomach aches. Mr. King was the last thing I needed right now. I dried my face and opened the door and see the old woman standing in front of me completely naked. Yung alaga ko ba, kasi medyo ulianin na rin yung alaga ko, kaya nung nag-knock sa door, nakita ko siya doon na nakahubad na pala siya at gusto na talaga mag-shower, gusto na niya pumasok sa shower. I insisted her gently as she stepped over the side of the tub and placed herself on the small metal chair. I turned the faucet and squished it into the shower head. She noticed that I had been crying. You are really not looking well. Maybe you should stay at home today and not to go to your other job. That's what the old woman told me. Sabi niya, mukha ka naman ng Sophia. Sabi niya, I think you look sick. Sabi niya, sana wag ka nang pumunta sa trabaho. You have to stay home today. I didn't respond to her. Instead, tried to fight my tears and my dripping nose. Then the old woman suddenly screamed as she played her arms and legs. You stupid woman. You're just burning me. The water is too hot. Get me out. She started yelling and her daughter-in-law, Yan, take Sophia out of here. She's trying to kill me. Kasi guys, parang nawawala na ako guys sa sarili ko kasi hindi ko alam kung anong gagawin ko. Para bang natutuliro na yung isip ko. Kaya hindi ko na masyadong napapansin na ang tubig pala guys, na pinapaligo ko pala doon sa matanda, ay mainit na pala. Hindi ko siya masyadong na-adjust. Kaya ang nangyari guys, nasusunog na pala yung matanda. Dahil siyempre, hindi ko na masyadong na-adjust, nawawala ako sa umiiyak ako, pinipigil ko sarili ko, naalala ko yung mga nangyayari. Kaya, hindi ko pala alam na yung matanda sumisigaw na, sabi niya, Yan, take Sophia out of here, she's trying to kill me. Yun ang sigaw na matanda. Everything was happening so quickly. I didn't understand what was occurring. It was as if everything was in the slow motion. Mr. and Mrs. King tore into the bathroom and saw me crying as I turned off the water. The old woman was now shouting in mixture of Cantonese and English, Get out! Get her away from me. She looked at her son, called the police. She tried to kill me. Kasi parang very, guys, na parang napakabilis ng pangyayari. Nung nangyari kasi yun, syempre, para bang iniisip ko, parang sa mga oras na yun, kung mayroon na ako, guys, gusto ko na talaga mawala ako sa mundo. Kaya ang nangyari sa akin, ginagawa ko pa rin ang trabaho, kaya I can't do my job properly because of what's happening. Tapos nagsisigaw na siya, sabi niya, tumawag daw ng pulis. Tapos pinapaalis na ako doon. Tumawag ka na ng pulis, sabi niya, she's trying to kill me. Hindi ko naman siya guys trying to kill her. Para bang hindi ko na na-adjust yung tubig. Kaya lang siyempre guys, mainit. Hindi mo rin masisisi ng matanda. I shook my head as the severity of my situation became clearer. I'm so sorry. I had no idea that the water was so hot. Nahingin ako na-apologize sa kanya. Sabi ko, bakit sabi ko, hindi ko napansin ang tubig palang pakainit. Kaya nanghingi ako ng sorry doon sa matanda. Mr. King stood next to his mother, staring at me as she continued to speak loudly in Cantonese. Mr. King covered her mother-in-law naked body with a yeah, terry cloth bathrobe and shut the toilet lid and sat on it. Not sure what to do. 15 minutes later, I could hear the police and had arrived, and the king knocked on the bathroom door and spoke to me in a very respectful tone. Tapos guys, nung pinalis na matanda doon sa toilet, ako naman, nag-stay pa ako doon sa toilet para bang nagsara ako ng pinto. Ah, nagsara ang pinto. Tapos, ang nangyari, oo nga, Ginelyn eh. Kaya nung dumating ng mga police guard, dumating na yung mga police, kinausap na ako ng police. Mr. King knocked on the bathroom door and spoke to me in a very respectful tone. Sophia, my mother and my wife would like to talk to you about what happened in the tub. You don't need to say anything about the incident between us early. It won't happen again. I am sorry. Tapos, nung dumating ng mga pulis, kinausap ako ni Mr. King, di ba? Pinagpupupog ako ng halik doon sa kaya ako nawawalan ako ng sa concentration sa trabaho ko because para bang natakot na ako, parang bigla ako nagkaroon ng phobia. Tapos sabi niya sa akin, ang asawa doon niya, saka yung mother-in-law niya, saka mga pulis gusto makipag-usap sa akin, pero sabi niya sa akin, binalaan ako, sabi niya, you don't need to say anything about the incident between us earlier. It won't happen again. Humingi na siya ng sorry, sabi niya, wag ko na daw banggitin yung mga nangyari nung before that at hindi na daw maulit. I just sat and cried and was somewhat in shock what he was apologizing, especially after the bell thing. He said, I wasn't even sure if I could still work here after his attack. I didn't know how to react. I was also terrified about going to prison here in Hong Kong. It was then I noticed two officers just outside the bathroom door. Siyempre guys, sa mga panahon na yung guys, iyak ako guys sa bathroom. Tapos kahit na humingi na siya ng sorry sa akin, pero ang ginawa ko guys, natatakot pa rin ako na parang niisip ko, ano bang ina-apologize na sa akin, it's really done. Ano bang inaano niya, ano bang gusto niyang gawin, di ba? Tapos ako naman guys, natakot ako kasi baka naman makulong ako sa Hong Kong kasi in-accuse ka kasi guys of killing someone. In-accuse ako ng matanda na try to kill her, o di ba? Siyempre, pag ikukulong ako sa Hong Kong, ano mangyayari sa akin, o di ba? And then, ang dalawang pulis nagkatok sa pinto. I noticed the two officer just outside the bathroom door. Sabi na sa akin. Can you come out, please? One of them said. They each had hand resting on their. Nakahawak pa sila guys sa ganila, nakaganyan, nakabukas ang pinto, pero yung kamay nila guys, nakahawak na sa baril. O, di ba? They each had hands resting on their holstered guns. Please give me a minute. I am not well. They walked away from the bathroom and into the hallway. Within a minute, I followed them out after examining myself in the mirror. I made myself look as rough as possible for sympathy. Once I was out in the hall, I realized everyone had gathered in the living room. Mr. and Mrs. King sat side by side and on the sofa, while the old woman sat in the lounge chair, flanked the two officers. She was speaking quickly in Chinese, and I could tell she was still accusing me of trying to kill her. Kinakausapan niya yung mga pulis na ini-explain sa mga pulis na I tried to kill her. The shorter officer asked me what happened. I wish I could tell them about the attempt of rape, but it would not help me in the least. I had to save myself. It took a second job and believed that I got food poisoning while I was there. I should have gone to the hospital, but I didn't want to share my duties here. So I was dealing with issues of feeling sick while trying to tend to Mrs. King. I neglected to check the water temperature, and I'm very sorry. The water was too hot. I never intended to hurt her. I looked up at the officer's eyes and tried to look extra pathetic. I love Mrs. King like my own mother. Simple guys, nag-explain ako, di ko pwedeng explain na yung gustong gawin sa akin ni Mr. King. Kaya ang ginawa ko na lang na I'm not really feeling well. Mayroon akong diarrhea. Sabi ko ng ganon. Saka na-neglect ko yung mag-check ng water dahil I'm not feeling well. Kaya naman, itong mga pulis naman, sabi ko, explain ko, mahal ko si Mrs. King. Sabi ko, I treat her like my own mother. I reacted out and tried to touch the old woman's hand, but she turned away from me. Para bang gusto ko sanang lambingin yung matanda, kaya lang, ayaw naman yung hawakan ko siya, kaya hindi ko na siya, pinabayaan ko na lang. O, di ba? Kaya, guys, andyan lang kayo, guys. I reached out. Mr. King and the two officers left the room and went into the library while his wife confronted her mother-in-law. They spoke to each other in Cantonese. I walked away from them and glanced at various pictures on the wall and waited for my verdict. Tapos ako naman, kinausap na kasi ng pulis yung si Mr. King. Tapos, tapos ako naman nag-aantay ako doon kung ano maging desisyon nila sa akin. Para bang ino-offer ko na lang sa Panginoon na whatever the decision, please God help me. Di ba? I began to wonder if coming to Hong Kong had been a big mistake. If I was convicted and went to prison, I knew that Frisco would take my daughter away from me. If my parents found out about Holy Bella, they would suffer more than me. If I were convicted, I'd rather kill myself than go to prison and bring more shame upon my family. Kaya ng mga oras na yun, guys, niisip ko, guys, ang pakalungkot, nalulungkot, naiiyak na naman ako. Noong mga oras na yun, guys, alam mo, marami akong mga iniisip ng mga oras na yun kasi sabi ko, kung ano mangyari sa akin, sabi ko, ano kaya mangyari sa akin, mga iniisip ko, kung nasa Hong Kong ako, sabi ko, paano na lang kung makonvicted ako at mapunta ako sa kulungan. Alam ko yung papa ng anak ko, yung sa Pilipinas na yung isang din na nag-take advantage sa akin, sabi ko, it will take my daughter away from me. Ang parents ko naman, kapag malaman nila tungkol kay Holy Bella, magsasakripisyo din sila dahil siyempre, gipit ng sila, di ba? Tsaka pag na-convict ako sa Hong Kong, iniisip ko, sabi ko, I would rather kill myself than going to prison in Hong Kong. Finally, the three men come in from the library and Mr. King walked over to me, stopping about 3 feet away. We won't press charges against you, but we have decided to cancel your employment with us as this moment. Kaya ang nangyari guys, ganito, nagsabi sa akin, siguro na siguro ni Mr. King, ayaw na rin siguro niyang lumabas ang katotohanan, baka nga naman kaya nagdesisyon sila na they are not going to place charges, but they are going to release me on that day. Paalisin na nila ako sa trabaho ko sa kanila at i-release na nila ako on that spot, on that moment. I was expecting worse than that and look at each other and 5 people before me. Thank you very much. I'm sorry for the trouble I caused you. Ako pag humingi ng sorry. Tapos sabi ko, thank you very much for the trouble I caused you. Sabi ko sa kanila. Mr. King added, what can we do for you? You want us to call the office or do you want to talk to them and explain? Kasi gusto niya tatawag doon sa opisina kasi 'di ba guys, ayoko na rin bumalik sa opisina dahil nga siyempre dahil kay Mr. Cervantes. Ngayon, wala namang kakaalam-alam si Mr. King. Ito namang si Mr. King gusto naman niyang tawagan yung opisina para sabihin kung explain ko kung ano nangyari. Tapos sabi ko sa kanya, I'll do it. You've done enough, I said in a quiet voice. His wife spoke next. Please go pack your belongings and the police will escort you out. I went back to my room in tears. Now what would I do? Diba? Parang ayoko nang bumalik din kay Mr. Cervantes kasi syempre, wala na akong trabaho guys. Ayoko naman guys bumalik sa Pilipinas dahil syempre may iniiwasan din ako doon. Tapos ayoko naman bumalik sa opisina dahil nga siyempre ayaw ko na may mangyari sa akin uli yung ginawa ng Mr. Cervantes. Kaya saan ako guys pupunta? Anong gagawin ko? 'Di ba? What would I do? Pack all your belongings and the police will escort you out. I went back to my room. Now what would I do? I wasn't going to prison, but I had no choice but to move back into Mr. Cervantes' apartment and work full-time at the agency. Once I was all packed, the officer drove me to the train station and watched as I bought a ticket and walked through the terminal area. I found the seat on the train and looked out the window. I had no idea where to get off until I saw a train approaching large charts not too far away. The train stopped and I got off. Tapos nung sa train ako guys, hindi ko alam guys kung saan ako pupunta dahil siyempre hindi ko naman tinatawagan yung office pa. Sabi ko, Lord, saan ba ako pupunta? Please guide me. Sabi ko ng ganun. Tapos habang nakaupo ako guys sa train, dumaan doon sa may simbahan sa Hong Kong, yung Catholic Church na sinasimbahan namin. Tapos anong nangyari guys, suminto mismo yung train doon sa harap mismo ng church. Nung huminto sa doon sa tapas mismo ng church guys, ang ginawa ko, bumaba ako. The train stopped and I got off. Walking quietly to the church, I was begin to sign. It was the sign I was looking for. It was just 10 minutes walk from the stop. I made my way up the stairs through the large wooden door and into the building. It smelled of fine-scented cleaner and well-worn leather. I walked halfway down to the row of you and sat near the end of the ones. The hard wooden bench was somewhat reassuring. Up and over the altar at the front of the church was huge cross with the crucified Christ looking down at me. I put my hands in the prayer formation and look ahead speaking softly, Lord. Nagdasal na ako guys. Lord, please help me. Guide me in the right direction. I will earn my guidance. I am not afraid to suffer like you. In my mind, I prayed that things would work out and I could continue to work in Hong Kong. I just wanted to help my parents and my baby. After 20 minutes, I left and returned to the train stop. I got in off. I used a payphone and to call Mr. Cervantes in his office. Hello, can I speak to you, Mr. Cervantes, please? Tapos ang nangyari na yung guys, nung nasa simbahan ako guys, alam mo guys, napakalungkot. Yung buhay ko guys na sa Hong Kong naku, grabe guys, naranasan ko, dami. Kaya ang hirap talaga guys ng mga domestic helper, di ba? Hindi nyo lang kasi alam ang mga dinadaanan ng mga OFW. Kaya nung mga panahon na yun guys, nung mga panahon na yun, iniisip ko, ano kayang gagawin ko? Kaya lang sa iniisip ko naman, hindi na rin ako makabalik sa Pilipinas at gusto ko din magtrabaho sa Hong Kong. Kaya ang ginawa ko, sabi ko, pwede ako mag full-time sa office. Mag full-time na lang ako sa office yan. Hindi ako pwedeng bumalik doon kay Mr. King kasi nirelease na nila yung contract ko. Kasi noong mga time na yung guys, hindi pa masyadong mahigpit sa Hong Kong. Pwede ka pa magtrabaho pag 2 years ang contract mo. Pwede ka pa magstay sa Hong Kong habang nandoon ka, maghanap ka ng bagong employer. Kaya ang ginawa ko sa simbahan ako guys, sabi ko sa Lord, please, Lord, help me, guide me in the right direction. Tulungan mo ako, tulungan mo ako para mapunta ako sa right direction. Diba? I just wanted to help my parents and my baby. After 20 minutes, I left. Returning to the train stop, I'm gotten off. I used my payphone, then tumawag ako kay Mr. Cervantes. Who's calling? The boy said. It's Sophia from the agency. The phone jaggled and it was transferred to another line extension and then a familiar voice spoke. Hello? I formed my voice quickly and clear. Mr. Cervantes, I was fired from my nursing job and I really need your help. I don't want to go back to the Philippines. May I please see you? Tapos ang ginawa ko guys, direct, sabi ko sa kanya, I was fired with my work, sabi ko na sa kanya, pero hindi ko sinabi kung anong dahilan. Kung anong dahilan kung bakit ako pinard sa work ko, hindi ko sinabi na gano'n nga ang ginawa sa akin ni Mr. King, hindi ko sinabi din sa kanya. Please, I want to see you. He quickly told me to meet him at his apartment in 2 hours. His voice was very agreeable. He told me just to...
Any chance to the iPad? Do you need it?
Yeah, it's okay. You can turn
Sure.
it. Yeah, okay. I formed my words quite quickly but clear. Mr. Cervantes, I was fired from my nursing job. I really need your help. He quickly told me to wait for him in 2 hours at the apartment. His voice was very agreeable. It took me just over an hour to walk from the train stop to his building. I went inside the lobby and allowed to go up into the floor where I stood outside his door waited. Ginawa ko naman guys, hindi na ako sumakay ng train, naglakad na ako, napakalayo ng nilakad ko guys, parang naka-relax ko yung sarili ko na naglakad ako from his office to the apartment, naglakad ako ng mga 1 hour. Bit ko guys yung bag ko. Hindi naman wala naman ako maraming bag guys kasi kararating ko lang Hong Kong, di ba hand carry laging bit ko. Kaya hand carry din yung dala-dala ko. Then, ang ginawa ko, naglakad ako, tapos umakyat ako sa building niya, nag-antay ako doon sa sa bahay niya outside his door. Okay? After 10 minutes, I stepped out of the elevator and glanced at me. After 10 minutes, he stepped out of the elevator and glanced at me with a look of concern. He opened the door to the apartment and then handed the key to me, saying, I have to go back to the office. We'll talk when I'm returned. After he left, I got comfortable on the sofa and fell asleep. That night, after dinner, he and I talked. I told him how I was fired from my job because of a crazy old woman. He got quiet and laughed over that. I smiled too because in hindsight, it was a little funny. I told him the whole story except the part where Mr. King tried to rape me. He in return apologized for what happened between us and promised he would not force himself to me again. I told him that I didn't want the girls to know about it either, my firing from my Kings or his rape thing. He grilled. When I said rape, it is what it was. I agreed to stay with him because he was sponsoring me while I was in Hong Kong. He was now my employer. And as far as the girls and my boss back in the Philippines was concerned, he was the hero and was very lucky. And I was very lucky. Siyempre, yung mga ano doon sa Pilipinas, ang pagkakaalam nila, I was very lucky kasi siyempre natanggal na ako doon sa employer ko dahil sa katangahan ko, nasunog ko yung matanda na habang nagsishower, hindi na alam yung talagang tunay na dahilan kung bakit nagkaganon ang nangyari. Kaya, pinabayaan ko na lang, hindi na ako nagkwento kay Mr. Cervantes. Okay? Pero nangako naman siya na hindi na daw niya ulitin yung ginawa niya at hindi na ako pipilitin doon sa ayaw kong mangyari. I agreed to stay with him because he was sponsoring me while I was in Hong Kong. He was now my employer, and as far as the girls and my boss back in the Philippines were concerned, he was a hero. I was very lucky. Without him, I would have to return to the Philippines after the incident with the elder Mrs. King. He told me that I could use the small room next to his and go back to doing paperwork for the agency. As I had before, I was still expecting to do all the housekeeping and exchange for rent, and he's sponsoring me. I accepted the offer but realized that I was still needed make extra money. Kaya ang ginawa ko guys, ang ginawa ni Mr. Cervantes, in-sponsoran na niya ako sa Hong Kong para makapag-stay ako doon. Kaya nagtatrabaho ako sa agency at the same time, para man makabawi ako sa pag-rent ko sa kanya, baka isipin niya pasa't kalimutan na lang yung mga nangyari sa amin dalawa. Kaya ang ginawa ko naman guys, habang pagkatapos ng trabaho ko sa agency, ang ginawa ko, naglilinis ako sa office, nilalaban ko yung damit niya, tapos hindi naman ako guys marunong magluto eh. Nagluluto ako ng mga Filipino food, pero minsan palagi akong kumakain sa labas. I found a job at a Korean restaurant across the street from the agency. During the day, I worked for the agency and cleaned Mr. Cervantes' apartment, while during the evening, and worked in the kitchen at the Happy Tongo restaurant, cleaning, preparing food, and cooking. Kaya ang ginawa ko naman guys, natuto rin ako at last na kasi at the front sa building na yon, across the street na tinitira namin, mayroong Korean restaurant doon guys na nag-apply ako doon, tanggap ako magtrabaho, pero ang hirap din ng trabaho ko guys kasi I'm cleaning the restaurant, tapos prepare the food and also help the cooking. Every Sunday, the girls still come to the apartment to visit. They often flirted with Mr. Cervantes in a playful way and in confidence, as if it's bothered me. I explained our relationship was strictly business. The man was just my boss. As far as I know, no one else at the apartment had any linking or what happened that night. Kaya parang sikreto namin yun guys na dalawa na ayaw namin balikan, na ayaw ko naman kwento sa mga girls kasi siyempre ayaw ko naman na mag-isip sila, baka naman ayaw kong isipin nila. Basta sabi ko sa kanila, he is my boss and I'm also I'm just only working in the office. I learned from one of the girls that he was now dating one of the agency's nurses but was keeping it in a secret. Even though he had a wife and new girlfriend, he was still trying to his luck and with me. He'd buy me expensive gift to get my attention, but in return, I avoid him as much as I could. I didn't show him the speak of attention. My focus was on my work hard and save money as I could to send to the Philippines. One of the night, Mr. Cervantes approached me and said unexpectedly, Sophia, would you like to go back to the Philippines during December school holiday and visit your family? My heart started beating faster with a happy thought. I miss my family and my daughter so much. It would be wonderful to see them again so soon. Siyempre, siguro gusto niya ko attention, kaya sabi niya, Sophia, gusto mo ba sa Pilipinas? Dahil during Christmas and holiday, para ma-meet mo makita ko daw yung aking mga pamilya. Siyempre, sinobra man guys, hindi matuwa, di ba? I thank him profusely. Oh, thank you so much, sir. I'm so blessed. A week after that conversation, my visa arrived at the office. It was now official. Mr. Cervantes was my sponsor. He was completely in control of my life. Now, without him, I could be deported back to the Philippines at any time. Tapos ng mga linggo na yon, 3 months after, dumating yung visa ko guys na sponsor na si Mr. Cervantes is now totally my employer. I was very pleased to have my visa, but on the other side of my coins, I was concerned about being stuck with him for 2 years. It would be my puppet master. Daisy Jane Vargas and the agency manager who traveled here several months ago rang up on the blue and out of the blue and informed me that I was no longer needed, just like that. Although I had to find another day job, I wasn't too worried because I now have a legal visa. First though, I needed to see my daughter. Kaya ang ginawa ko naman guys, yung sa Pilipinas naman, yung agency sa Pilipinas, parang inisip nila they don't need me anymore kasi yung anak nung may-ari, yun na lang ang mag-process ng papers. Naghanap na sila ng ibang place ng pagrerentahan, kaya umalis na sila doon, kaya they don't really need me anymore. Kaya ang ginawa ko naman, parang naisip ko guys na okay lang kasi total may visa na ako, I could work in Hong Kong at bago yun, gusto ko muna umuwi sa Pilipinas para makita ko yung anak ko. I wrote to my parents and explained that I was coming home from a visit, that I had a big surprise for everyone. I finally decided to tell them all the truth about Holy Bella and where I had really been living for the past 3 months. Kasi 3 months lang yung guys eh. Kaya pag uwi ko, sabi ko sasabihin ko na sa mga magulang ko na kung saan ako talaga nung the past 3 months. A week later, I received a reply from my mother and she said she know that big surprise ang Holy Bella was my daughter. I wasn't all that surprised that she figured it out, and she said that my father still had no idea even though he felt strong connection with her. My mother said that they loved me and nothing would never change that. I knew, however, that my father deserved to know the truth. Tapos ang ginawa ko, sumulat ako sa mama ko, sabi ko sa mama ko, uwi ako sa Pilipinas at sasabihin ko sa inyo yung big surprise ko at kung saan ako nung the last 3 months. Kaya sabi ng mother ko, alam ko na yung surprise mo. At alam ko na rin na si Holy Bella ay anak mo, sabi ng mama ko. Pero sabi niya, I don't know your father, it knows it. But sabi niya, ang papa mo, ang imahal niya si Holy Bella. Kaya ang ginawa ko guys, hanggang dito na lang guys tayo guys para nanonood ka pa rin. O sige, tapusin ko ito na lang yung chapter na ito. Tapos na pala ng mother ko na sinabi niya sa akin na alam na niya na anak ko pala si Holy Bella at alam niya yung ko pero ang papa ko hindi pa alam. The next Sunday morning, I went to church with Linda, Mr. Cervantes, and the other girls. During the silent prayer, I again asked God to help me, my parents understand my situation and not to be angry with Rusco. Yung Rusco, yung papa nung anak ko, na hindi nila alam, nalaman na pala nila. Afterward, I decided not to tell them that he raped me. As my father was a good man, I didn't want him to act like a monster to avenge me. I knew that all of my family had fallen in love with Holy Bella, especially my father. I needed that love to remain forever in their heart. She was also a beautiful girl and was really fall in love with them. Kaya ang ginawa ko guys, sabi ko, ayoko naman magalit kasi ang papa ko doon sa papa ng anak ko, kaya hindi ko na rin sasabihin yung tungkol doon sa ginawa sa akin na pag-rape niya. Kaya ang ginawa ko guys, parang inano ko na lang, pinagtakpan ko na lang yung anak ko kasi ayoko naman baka may maging kriminal pa yung papa ko. Kaya ang ginawa ko, hindi ko sinabi sa papa ko yung ano talagang tunay na nangyari. Hindi ko sasabihin kasi hindi pa niya alam eh. Kasi gusto ko mananatili yung pagmamahal nung papa ko sa baby ko, at saka syempre yung respeto niya doon sa papa ng bata. On the way back to the train station after church, I decided to tell Mr. Cervantes about my situation. He was coming back to the Philippines with me. Mr. Cervantes, while the girls do this shopping, could we go somewhere for a bite? I have something I need to talk to you about. We can meet them later at the apartment. Sabi ko, ako na nagano kasi gusto ko rin malaman ni Mr. Cervantes kung ano totoong buhay ko, di ba? He really agreed to talk me out at my favorite steakhouse in Taiwan, a metropolitan area situated on the northern shore of Hong Kong Island. We sat at the table across each other after a drink. I began, because you are my sponsor, I personally feel that I should tell you something about myself. Because no one has to know the truth, maybe you can help me and give me some kind of advice. He joked, you haven't killed anyone, have you? I smiled and shook my head, no, although murder had crossed my mind more than once. Kasi minsan guys, kapag ikaw talaga medyo frustrated ka na guys, minsan dumarating sa isip mo na papatay ka ng tao o kaya magpapakamatay ka, pero to the extent hindi ko rin ginawa ang mga yun. He began quiet, crossed my mind more than once. He became quiet and listened. I told him that I have an affair with a married man, that we have a child together. I come to Hong Kong to escape him and hidden my daughter with my parents. I explained the affair was over and hope one day I meet the right guy, marry, and have proper family of my own. I said how my parents were very religious and they would see what I have done as an evil mistake. If they knew the truth, they would disown me, and I have no doubt, and now wanted to tell them the truth and clean my soul, my lies and sin, and begin over again fresh. Kaya sabi ko sa kanila, kasi ang mga parents ko, guys, they are very religious. They all go to church umaga, hapon, ilang beses nung punta sa church sa saka linggo talaga nagsisimba silang mag-asawa. Kasama kami mga bata no maliliit pa kami. Kaya gusto ko nang sabi ko sa kanya, gusto ko na ipagtapat sa magulang ko ang mga nangyari sa buhay ko para to start fresh when I got back to Hong Kong. We ate our meals in relatively silence as we talked different things from the conversation. After we ordered our dessert and dishes had been cleared, I took the opportunity to point out that I had no desire to be with him again. To that, he shook his head and rumbled his hand over his lips, and he stared at me saying, you have a very sad memories back in the Philippines. No wonder that you're sometimes very quiet and secluded. He took a drink. Don't Linda knows about any of this? Siyempre, marami daw pala akong mga sad memories sa Pilipinas na iniwan. Kaya sabi niya, is any of the girls Linda knows about this? No, sir. No one else knew. Not even my parents. Kasi sa totoo, guys, yung mga nangyari, guys, sa buhay ko, guys, dito sa libro na to, guys, namatay lang yung mga magulang ko, guys, na hindi nila nalalaman yung talagang totoo na nangyari sa buhay ko. Pati mga kapatid ko. Kaya, sa libro lang ito, guys, nila malalaman yung talagang totoo. No, sir. No one else knew, even my parents. This is going to be our little secret that I trust only you with. I don't want a relationship with you because you are married and my parents would never approve. You could not be a proper father to my daughter and you already had a family. Besides, you have the same age as my mother. I am half your age. Kasi binibiro ko na lang siya para magkaroon na lang ng yung aming sitwasyon na dalawa. Kaya sabi ko sa kanya, ayoko magkaroon ng relationship sa iyo kasi may asawa ka, saka ang mga magulang ko it won't approve you. Tapos sabi ko, besides, sabi ko, kalahati lang kasing edad ka ng mama ko at kalahati lang edad natin. Kasi guys, yung edad namin guys na dalawa halos halos magkalahati. Kasi ako, pumunta ako ng Hong Kong, 20 plus ang ata ako, tapos siya 40 plus Kaya halos half his age, yung edad ko, tsaka yung edad niya, halos magkalahati ang edad namin dalawa. He smiled. Age doesn't matter to me. Well, that is the least of our problem. You have a wife and a family, and I will not play second pedal to that. Holy Bella, and I deserve more, sabi ko sa kanya. We went quiet, just dessert arrived, and we both dug in and fall apart my fancy pastry. I love it here. The food is so wonderful. Kasi nagkaroon na rin ako ng gusto kong maging tapat sa kanya, kaya sinabi ko yung totoo. He looked at me deep though. How did you come to know about this place? I smiled at him. Oh, Cassandra told me to come here. The food is fairly priced and very tasty. He said you brought her here last week. Oh, my good friends, Cassandra. I didn't realize that you two were close. I could tell he was nervous and I knew about one of his girlfriends. I gave him a broad smile. Sir, I have been very honest with you. Shouldn't you offer me the same courtesy? Cassandra was jealous of me and gave me a fair warning. I assured her that I have no interest in you and that I would make much better friend than enemies. Because I knew she was talking to me like I was an old roommate, I can tell you that she loves the hell out of you. Kasi ito kasi yung employer ko sa Hong Kong. Masyado kasi itong womanizing kaya Guys, ang sakit na ng likod ko, guys. Pwede ko ba, guys, pagpatuloy na lang ito ulit? Maganda na ito, guys, kasi ito na yung nag-umpisa yung ng buhay ko. Medyo okay na siya, pero mayroon pa. Hindi ko, maganda dito, guys, pag na-meet ko na yung asawa ko ngayon, doon ko yun, guys, siya na-meet sa Hong Kong. Kaya nandito din sa libro ko. Guys, dito ko na ito, guys, tapusin, guys, kasi 2 hours ago na, guys. Pagpatuloy ko lang ito, guys, in the next few days, okay? Para magkaroon ako ng relax, masakit ang likod ko. Okay, guys. Guys, thank you very much, and thank you, Jeneline Alperez. I know you're still watching. Jeneline, are you still there? Okay, Jeneline, pasensya ka na kasi masama ng pakiramdam ko. Parang masakit na yung ulo ko, parang sasabog, masakit ang ulo ko eh. Kaya ang gagawin ko, guys, ipagpatuloy ko na lang ito sa sunod yung pagbabasa ko, guys, ng libro ko kasi hindi ko mapwedeng basahin ng tuloy-tuloy, guys, kasi pag umupo ako tulad niya, nakaupo na ako ng 2 hours dito. Sumasakit na yung likod ko, okay? I love you, guys. Sa sunod na lang, guys, tayo uli, guys. Okay, thank you very much and I love you. Bye-bye.